Hello everyone, this is Sean Sagan, and this is the third part of my reed making series in the new Italian style. In this part, I'm going to go over how to wrap the reed. Here I have a couple of the items that I'm going to be using. So the very first thing that I will have is, of course, my reed. This is the same reed that we just got done forming the tube on. We're going to have a pair of pliers. We are also going to have, this is an old pair of wire cutters that I got. I've had that for quite some time. And of course, we are going to use some thread. Kind of hard to get all of this in one frame, but here is going to be, I like wrapping in with 2 threads at the same time. It just happens to go by a lot quicker. We have our sealant here, which is this Liquitex. And then finally, I have a generic drying rack. This is from Forest out in California, but you can use any drying rack that you have. So to begin, we're going to use 2 threads. Both of these, this is Aunt Lydia's. You can get these on Amazon. You can get them at your local hobby store. They are quite common to get. I like using cotton just for the sole purpose of cotton is an organic material. It's going to be flexible. You can use nylon if you want. I have seen bassinists use nylon in this style before. It just happens to be, I just like cotton. This is size 10 crochet thread. There are a lot of options for you. So one of the big reasons why I get asked this a lot, why do I wrap this in 2 different threads or just use 2 threads? And the answer is simple. I don't want to take all this time wrapping a reed. If I use 2 threads, it's going to go twice as fast. Simple as that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a good amount of thread out. So I'm unwrapping my orange. I'm going to set it to the side, which is kind of hard to see, but you can see here I've got a good amount of thread, and there's the end. And then I'm going to do the same with my variegated thread. I also like using variegated thread because it gives a lot of different color options. So right now I'm just setting the ends of the thread in my lap, and I'm going to take this reed and I'm going to explain sort of the methodology before I go into the visual showcase of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop the 2 threads down here, and I'm going to go sort of in this pattern of I'm going to go down, holding this and kind of turning as I am wrapping, and then my right hand is going to be going up and down. So once I get here and I'm down, I go up, down, up, down, kind of like this. So thinking about this as a machine rather than it being as like I am, there's like actual motions to be doing. This is something that I would say that this portion takes practice doing. So don't be discouraged if it doesn't look like mine the very first time. I've made a lot of reeds. The other thing I will say is that we will want to put this wire up so we avoid poking ourselves. So I'm going to set this down, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap the reed. So got my thread right here. You can see I've got my loop, and now I'm going to put that. So you can see I've got this nice loop, and it's now fixated on the bottom wire. I'm going to twist to kind of lock that, and I'm going to start at the top and down. And I'm pulling nice and tight. You see I'm not all the way out here with my thread. I'm keeping it fairly close. And you know, it's about average. It's a little bit on tight for the tightness in terms of how much I'm pulling, but I'm trying to keep it very consistent. So, and you can see I'm kind of watching where that wire is, and I'm avoiding. I don't want to trim that wire. I found in years past that when I trim that 3rd wire, it tends to make the bottom wire, might trim it a little too short. So I just keep it long. And I've just learned to avoid it. So I'm going down, and you can see I'm kind of starting to create a pattern. I'm laying the thread right behind where I previously laid it. And I'm going up down. I can try to speed this up a bit. As one can imagine, this is kind of hard to keep in frame. So as you can see now, the little turban or the little ball at the end is starting to get formed. So it's creating a little bit of a pattern. So, and as it gets bigger, I try to see, okay, you know, based off of how the thread's feeling, is the thread slipping a lot? And I'm not really feeling that here. So as I get too close, I let out a little bit more thread, but I'm trying to see an end point. And I always like to make sure that my reeds, the thread kind of ends in the center of the reed, whether if it's down like this, or if I go over to the back of the reed, see right there, I can feel it starting to slip. So that's telling me I'm probably going to want to finish up my wrapping fairly soon. So now you can see I've got it's going on the inverse where it's going up. And I'm going to end it just right here. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thread and I'm just going to wrap it up the tube. Going to push that down so that everything is nice and compact down there. So that's about a good stopping point right there. So when I know that's about the length of the tube wrapping I want, I'm going to unwrap one whole section. I'm going to take my wrapping hand and then I'm going to cut some excess. So now you can see I've got my thread. I'm going to take my index finger and I'm going to place it down and I'm going to wrap my index finger so you can see it's in that thread. Then I'm going to, as I wrap it, I'm going to remove my fingers. There's a loop. I'm going to do my best while keeping this in frame to pass it through that loop. And now I tighten it, pull it nice and tight, make sure that this is all down. So, and then I'm going to take these. This is a really nice tool to kind of get it nice and flush. And you can see your reed is now wrapped. Now I've got this bottom wire right here that's sticking out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these tools, I'm going to bend it down, get it as flush as I can to the reed. And with the curved part, I'm going to cut off the excess. And you can see now the reed is now wrapped. Now the last thing we need to do is make sure that we seal the reed. Now there are a lot of different sealants out there. I'm going to go ahead and get my a little bit of here. There are a lot of different sealants that are out there. I personally like to use this Liquitex right here. This you can get at any hobby store. I know people traditionally like using Duco cement. This is a great option. This is non-toxic, and I've been using this for years, never having really any sort of an issue with it. And it produces kind of like a nice seal. So the big thing is I want to glue the majority of the reed. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to put the reed at an angle. So I'm kind of, if I turn it this way, I'm kind of doing this and turning, but using that angle and using gravity to really help glue the reed. So I'm going to kind of glob on a bunch. And I'm going to do my best. This is actually a little bit more challenging to do and keep everything in frame. I normally would not be nearly this messy, so I do apologize. I feel like I'm wasting quite a bit. But as you can see, I want to get the whole reed sealed. I'm going to use this and kind of pat down. And you see, even there's some on my mandrel, and that's okay. And now that I've got the majority of this here, I'm going to take my drying rack. Going to take my reed off, put it right in the center. It's on my drying rack. Now I'm going to take this, going to clean it up. So now my mandrel is ready to go for the next read. So that is how to go from a gouged, shaped, and profiled piece of cane to a blank in the new Italian style. I hope you all have found this helpful. I'm be more than happy to show you some scraping tips if you all would like. But as always, if you have any questions about this style or reed making in general, please feel free to reach out and I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have.